think that was what my fire was. I was so mad that happened, that everyone screwed me over, that people took advantage of me because I was a new investor. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go back and I'm going to go get my money back. And I did.
The guest for today, we've got Andrea Cruz, is an entrepreneur, real estate investor, and coach who leads a 7-figure virtual wholesaling operation in thriving markets across Texas and Florida. She's passionate about innovation, leveraging creative strategies to craft win-win solutions for sellers, while also empowering other investors to succeed in today's competitive environment. So, rooted in faith and family, she and her husband live by the 5 F's: faith, family, finance, friends, and fitness. I like that. And her journey is a testament that anything is possible. And I have a feeling we're going to get into a little bit of that tonight. How you doing, Andrea?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Pumped you're here. So did I leave anything out in the intro?
No, I think that was pretty much it. Yeah.
All right. Before we get into the whole real estate stuff, because, I mean, the show's called Real Estate Hacking Live. But before we get to that, tell me a little bit about, like, what did your life look like before real estate?
So before real estate, I was a hairdresser. I had my own hair studio in the Rice Village. Right after high school, I got my license to do hair. So I started working at a high-end salon. And after 4 years of being there, I ended up going on my own, got a studio, and I started doing hair. And things went really, really well for me. The only problem was that, when you're doing hair and you own your own hair studio, you always have to be there, and weekends.
You can't outsource that to a VA.
No. Yeah, no. And so I liked it and I made really good money, but I was always like, the more money I wanted to make, I had to be gone, you know? So that was a big deal for me. So, but I came across the book, The Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that's when I automatically knew that I was in the wrong quadrant. I was like, my job owns me. I'm never going to be able to step away from this. I'm not going to be able to make money and say I can step away and make money. I have to actually be here to make money. So I knew I had to make a change.
Yeah, that book really, it simplifies and it just helps you understand how money works.
Exactly.
And how money flows. At least, I mean, a lot of people credit that book and it's kind of an eye-opening or their gateway into real estate, even though it's not a real estate book, it's a personal finance book. But yeah, that's a lot of folks' gateway drug into the real estate world.
Exactly. And for me was like, okay, I have to think about investments because, I mean, I was an entrepreneur. I didn't have any like 401k or anything like that. So I'm like, I had money saved. I wasn't doing anything with my money. It was just literally sitting in the bank. So I was like, I have to find something to invest money so I can start, thinking already about our future, because, something happens to me with hair. I mean, that's it. I'm not going to be able. So that's when I started getting curious about real estate. And I did go to a Rich Dad, Poor Dad seminar. And that's when they talked about flipping. And I started looking more into it. And I said, well, I have the money, I have the funds. So I just need to find the deal. And, that's pretty much what I did.
So were you single or married at the time? Do you have kids?
Yeah. I was already married. I had 3 kids at the time. So I was married with 3 kids. And then when I started getting into real estate, actually when I was in my first flip, that's when I got pregnant with my 4th one. Everything all at once.
So did that calculus with your family, you've got kids, and I mean, how did that factor into, or did it even play any role into, hey, I kind of need to look at something else. Maybe this real estate thing is it, as opposed to just focusing on being a hairdresser.
Yeah, well, so that was the thing. Because I had kids, I had to start thinking of something investment wise because I had money saved, but I'm like, okay, I need to do something. Like this money is not appreciating in my savings account. And because obviously I knew my kids were going to go to school, go to college soon, that was going to come up. I had to do something. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to invest money into real estate, and, kind of learn it and go from there, and hoping, of course, that it would change my life, right?
So, how did you actually get started? Like, how did that first deal come about?
So my first deal, I'm still a little traumatic for my first deal, but
Oh,
so I had the money. I met a guy from Net Worth. Um, yeah, right, Net Worth. So I had told him, I was like, because I was very like, I was so excited about it. So I'm like, hey, I got the funds already. I'm looking for a deal. So of course, when you have a brand new investor, well, not even brand new, but brand new person coming in saying, hey, I have funds, I have money, you're like, oh, okay, So he ended up selling me a deal that was not a deal. I trusted his numbers. I didn't even have no clue. Like, I didn't even know how to do ARV or anything. I totally trusted this guy because to me, I'm like, the only way I'm going to learn is if I actually do it. Like, that's just how I think. Sometimes that helps me, sometimes it doesn't. But I have to like do it, right? Because I can only go to so many classes and so many training. I'm like, I have to actually do it so I will learn to flip. So I trusted his numbers. We ended up closing on the property. He got the lender for me. And so that's how I got into my first flip, right? Didn't really know what I was really doing, but my husband, he did do construction, but at the moment he had a job. So it wasn't like he could really help me. I was more the one like, oh, I really want to do this. And it was my money too, that because we had our own savings and then I had my own savings over here. So I was like, I'll use my money, like, so just let me do it. And he was like, all right, he always like, she's gonna do whatever she wants anyway. So I ended up, just kind of taking that leap of faith and closing on the deal. And my cousin, who was he helped me with the construction, which that was a huge mistake. So yeah, I mean, once we got in it, I was in the deal already. Once we were finished, there was a lot of obstacles that happened between, like, they give you a budget, they tell you it's 30,000, and next thing you know, oh hey, it's 40,000. And so I had a lot of that going on. So it was kind of hard. And then I found out I was pregnant too. So it was just like it wasn't a good start of a flip, right? Well, once we were done, the house actually flooded. They flooded. It was that week. It was that year where it flooded twice. Here was like tax weekend, and then that following, I
yeah, like the
think.
Memorial Day floods.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I didn't have any insurance because at where it was at, it didn't require to have, flood insurance. So all the work that I did, it was like it went to waste. And, so I didn't have any flood insurance or anything like that. But my family, they all kind of helped me out to kind of fix it again. And well, then it flooded again. So, I mean, anything that could go wrong on a flip, like it went wrong for me. And then I was pregnant too. So it was just like one thing after another. And I was like, oh my God, this is a nightmare, And then I kept fighting with our contractor. And then I was pregnant. And then, my husband was like, oh, like, I hate that you're in this situation. But we didn't plan for it to be like that. It just kind of happened like that. And I mean, overall, I ended up selling the property. I sold it for what I actually bought it for. So I lost $80,000 on that flip. Like yeah, it was bad. It was terrible. And I had a baby. So all that emotion of having a baby, losing $80,000, like all of it was just hitting me at once. But I was just so happy to be out of that flip. Because when you're bleeding, you're just like, I don't even care how much I lost. I just want to kind of cut that off and just move on, and I was more worried. Like, I just want to move on to the next thing, but it took a huge hit on me because like I felt like a failure. I mean, I had all my savings, I lost them. It was like a shock. Like, I'm like, oh my God, what just happened? But I mean, I'm the type of person like where, if something had like, don't give up, just keep going. Oh, well, like, just get back up. Let's do it. I just kept telling myself something good will happen out of this. I'll get something good's going to happen out of this, and, I took some time off, but then I went back. I said, I'm going to go back and I'm going to try to be more, cause I'm so impulsive. I make decisions pretty quick. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get into the wholesaling, cause I didn't know what wholesaling was. So I'm like, I'm going to make money now where I have to put any money out of my pocket, but I was very determined to go get my money back. I think that was what my fire was. Like I was so mad that that happened, that everyone screwed me over, that people took advantage of me because I was a new investor. Like I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go get my money back, and I did, I did. So
You only really fail when you quit, and you
exactly.
didn't quit. That's amazing, because if you're in the business and you're flipping houses long enough, you will lose money on a property. It's just law of numbers. It's gonna happen. You learned a lot of those lessons on your very first
Oh
deal,
yeah.
which is I can get that's definitely traumatic. So when you had time to reflect before your next deal, like if you could go back and do that one again, obviously you don't know the weather, but what are some things you would probably do differently?
Don't trust other people's numbers. That's like the first thing. That's something I tell other, especially newer investors, because sometimes I do hear some newer investors get into deals, and I'm like, "Did you actually run the numbers yourself?" And they're like, "No, so and so didn't for me." And I'm looking at the numbers. I'm like, "This doesn't make any sense," you know. So never trust no one's numbers. Do your own due diligence. If you're not sure, make sure you go to someone that you actually trust, not just someone who's just trying to sell you a deal. That's what I would do different as well.
So how did you end up recovering from that deal?
Oh man, it took a lot of strength, a lot of inner strength. I think what it was really just like my recovery was not to think about it, because my baby too, whenever I had her, she wasn't sleeping at the time, so I was dealing with like not sleeping, so I had so much going on that I can only like dwell on one problem at a time. And so whenever that happened to me, I kind of pretended like it never happened, you know, like in my own mind I just acted like, okay, I never had that money, I'm just gonna move on, start fresh again, and keep it going, and then just, you know, try to get some sleep when I can with from my baby. So that's really how I recovered. I actually had to pretend like it never happened to me. So because whenever I would want to think about it, I felt like I was gonna have like a breakdown, like, oh my God, I never really like let it process through my head. I just focused on like, hey, it never happened, and just moved on from it, you know.
So what was that timeline between you sold the deal, you finally,
It was like about 9 months
9 months before your next deal?
before, yeah, before I went back out there. Like, yeah,
Okay. And that next deal, now you're getting into wholesaling, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what did that deal look like?
So on my next deal, I made like 6,000. And that's when I really realized whenever I was doing hair, because I would make about like that much in a month. You know, some months were 6, some were 8. So I was like, man, look, if I can do more of this. But at the time, it was just me, like spreadsheets, hustling, calling. Like I was doing hair and I was calling leads. Like I was really like doing a lot. You know, I was on the time that I wasn't busy, I was talking to sellers, I was calling a lot of leads, setting up appointments, until, you know, I landed that first deal. And then once I learned how to do that first deal, like wholesale wise, because I ended up partnering with another girl, like it was over for me. So I was like, okay, we need to do this. And what really elevated was we saw a guy who was in Tampa. His name was Rafael Vargas. He was like, hey, we could teach you how to do virtual real estate. And I was like, what's virtual real estate? I never understood the concept of that. And they're like, yeah, we're doing deals in like all over like Florida, Washington. And I'm like, how is that possible? How can they actually be doing deals without looking at these houses? So we ended up going to one of their events out there in Tampa, and like they kind of showed us, okay, how to really set up a real operation. And I mean, we ended up signing up, you know, I took another gamble. We ended up signing for their mentorship. Their mentorship was like 20,000. And it was me and another girl. And I'm like, hey, let's split it. Let's do it together. And she didn't have the money. So I was like, I really want to do it. So I ended up asking my mom. I was like, Mom, like, would you let me borrow? And because she knew how I was, like, she trusted me. So she was like, I know that you will definitely work to pay me. And I had the money too, but I just didn't want to use my money anymore. I was scared. So she ended up letting me borrow her money, but I gave her interest. I told her that I would pay her interest on it. So she did. And so I took another leap of faith there, but that was right there where 3 months after our mentorship, I would say like 3 to 4, we were already hitting like 80K a month on deals. Like our life just changed, and I cried because I was like, oh my God, I can't believe like it went from this, if I would have given up, if I would have just stopped, because everybody was like, you're crazy for trying to go back to do real estate. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go back and get my money. But just if I would have not if I would have stopped, I would have never, got to that point, and took another leap of faith. Sometimes you just have to keep going and trust that vision and trust that process.
Yeah, because most people would have quit.
Oh yeah.
And when you have the ability to, I mean, you seemed like you were very confident in your work ethic. Your mom obviously was confident in your work ethic. When you have time to self-reflect, knowing like, hey, this thing works, I just don't work, and that's because I don't know what I don't know.
Exactly.
And you went to go seek out that information, and once you got the keys, now you're able to unlock doors to the vault.
Exactly. And I mean, one thing I always tell people is like, whenever you put a hustler behind systems and process, it's like it's game over. It's game over, because a lot of us, we have the work ethic. We go out there, we go make the calls, we do the appointments, we do that, but we don't have a system to follow. We don't have a process that we're following. And that's what really changed for us, was because we built a system, we built some processes behind it. So that way we know, okay, we have to do this, we have to set this up, and this is how we do it. And that's really what like helped us a lot, because that's what we needed. We didn't know we didn't know what direction we were going. And once we knew, it was game over after that.
And so you had a business partner at that time?
Yeah.
Okay. And how you still working with the same business partner?
No. We lasted 2 years. After COVID, we ended up going and we ended up splitting up and like very cordially about it. But I'm a very driven person, and it's hard for people to keep up with me. So like if you cannot keep up with the speed of how I do, it's like, hey, you're gonna get left behind. So that's kind of, I mean, I don't want to say that's what happened, but I like to move a certain way.
Yeah, you weren't on the same wavelength. Did that feel like you were starting over again?
Oh no, and I did start it over again, but I knew it. I knew how to run the operation. I knew how to run the system. I just had to start everything with the CRM, the flows, the processes, kind of get in the rhythm of it and stuff. But I mean, we did really well that year, because it was 2021 whenever I started. That's when I had cash for keys. And I mean, no, we did pretty well that year, for starting off scratch, because we already knew how the setup was.
Yeah, this is your third go through, a second go through with the business. It's like, most people probably played Mario Brothers when you're young, and once you realize how to get how to beat the boss on level 1 and level 2, level 3, you can go back and play it, and boom, you can beat them really quick. And then you'll keep doing that until you basically get to an obstacle where you just haven't learned that lesson yet.
Right.
So you were able to start over again and beat the boss for levels 1, 2, and 3, all the way up to whatever your new level was, and the new challenge you had to break through.
Exactly. And that's exactly how that happened,
So what systems and processes had you learned that you put in place at this point on this third go round that allowed you to just have that breakthrough moment with your business and scale quickly?
Well, the first one was actually learning all the different exit strategies, right? So as the years went by, obviously flipping was one of the first strategies I ever learned, and then it was wholesaling, and then I started to learn different strategies like hoteling. I started buying houses that didn't need a lot of repairs and stuff. So what I did was, like, all the different exit strategies, I placed a program, right? So that's one of the process that helped me, because now as a lead came in, because before we were turning away leads that were asking close to market value, because we were so stuck on that 70% formula. So what I did, I was like, any lead that comes in, I built a program for it, right? Because every lead they're gonna need a solution for it, right? So what is the solution that we can offer to help them, even if it's not at a wholesale price, right? So I built different programs in my company, our cash offers, our cash offer express, our novations, our platinum listings, and our regular listings, our premium listings, and our sub twos are fresh starts, and our owner finance are our rent to own VIPs. So depending on the scenarios that the sellers had, I pitched to my acquisitions like, okay, if they're going through this scenario, we're gonna pitch this. If they're going through this scenario, we're gonna pitch this. So that helped them to know what to pitch, and the sellers, they would feel more comfortable whenever we tell them like, hey, you qualify for the rent to own VIP program. They feel a lot more comfortable because they're like, oh, it's a program. Like, you're talking their language now. People, the people we deal with, they're more comfortable with programs. They have the Obamacare program, they have the Medicare program. So they're already comfortable with that aspect. So I just added it to my business to make it sound like, hey, we have all these programs. We're not like an real estate investment company. We're a real estate solution company, So that was one of the processes that definitely helped me grow in my company.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, I don't know, and I've been doing this for a while. I don't know if I've ever heard that before.
I know. I'm the first one that came up with that.
So, and here's that is very innovative in a crowded market to differentiate yourself. And so folks that I would coach, or just folks on the real estate team, they're getting into investing, or just being and speaking at events, I would often ask, hey, how many of you here go to sellers and say, I can buy your house all cash and close in like 5 days? Like, everyone raises their hand. I'm like, don't you see that that's a problem? You're no different than everyone else.
Exactly.
You just made yourself way different, even though you may be offering some of the same stuff that the other guy, or the other person's doing. Like, you made it sound a lot different, and you were able to connect with them with a product.
That's right. And I get a lot of listings, and I'm not even a realtor, but I'm doing the same thing as a realtor is doing, but I'm pitching it differently. And because sometimes they tell me like, are you a realtor? Are you an investor? I'm like, I'm neither, both. I'm a real estate solution company. We're here to help you solve your problem. So, because they're like, make me an offer. I'm like, well, we're not in the business of making offers. We want to see what you're asking for, so then we can see what program you qualify. So whenever they feel like, oh, we're not really chasing them, like, first we have to see even if you qualify for any of our programs. Now they're kind of taking that guard off, because they're like, oh, they're not going to lowball me. They're actually going to help me. So I'm actually doing the same approach. I mean, the same exit strategy, but it's just that I'm approaching it different to the seller, and that's how I'm able to get in and convert it.
Yeah, and that's what I taught to agents or investor agents on our team, and folks like Ben Deal and other folks, Wes and basically anyone that's listening to be on the team. Tell them, hey, if you follow a consultative approach, where just talk to them, be the solution. But once you start trying to pitch a specific product, if that doesn't work for them, you're going to shut them down.
Exactly.
But when you have just a conversation, you figure out what their needs are. They'll close the doors that they don't want to open anyway. Yep. They don't want to go through that door, and they'll open the door that's right for them. And you help them come up with a solution that you already know is probably the right one for them. And when they come up with it, they're a lot more likely to stick to it.
Exactly. It's kind of like the way I offer it in my package is like a package, so they love that.
I love it. You got programs, you got packages.
Oh, yes. Everything. Like anything that I can come up with and make it into a program, I do it because I listen to sellers and I listen to their needs. And so if I don't have it as a program, I create it. So because I know somebody else is going to have that same problem, and I'll have already a solution for it, So, I mean, you have to be different. You have to be different. And that's one of the things that really helped me elevate, was being different from a lot of people, we do a lot of like novations. I mean, when I tell you we get creative, very creative.
We just need to add the license part to your team. And then
I know. And I don't even have a license. I've never even had a license. And that's the crazy part, because people are like, why don't you get a license? But I feel that once I have a license, then that makes me a realtor now. So I don't want to have any, like, I want to be able to help them however I can, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So that's a little bit of a misconception. So I'm a licensed agent, but 99.9% of all my business has been investments, and 99.9% of those investments have been my investments. So it just comes. It's just another tool,
Yeah.
and knowing you would come up with a really cool program to
Oh,
call that
I'm
tool
sure. Yes.
the retail. And here's how I came up with that, because even though I had a license, I never used it, and I had my lead manager. I was like, hey, all these appointments I went on, I made them an offer. They said no. Figure out what happened to them, and it was like 130 for the year. 130 offers that we went on sold on MLS. And I was like, kind of doing the math. I'm like, all right, I was in their living room. They told me they wanted to sell their house. They didn't like the tool I gave them, so they went and sold on MLS with an agent. I'm an agent. I just didn't offer them that solution. How much commission would that be if I'm a horrible closing agent? If I close like 30%, I didn't know what realtors close. I did the math and it was like over 6 figures in commission. I'm like, all right, that's stupid to throw away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and then that's where I went on to the thing of coming up with my program.
Yeah,
The
no, you
concept.
have to. And we have this one called the Rent to Own VIP program, which is our owner finance. It's one of my favorite programs. So we've actually acquired properties at only $5,000 down, because that's our program. But it's just how we pitch it at $5,000 down at 3%. And these are people that owe free and clear, so entire landlords. So it's like now we're getting into these properties with only like $5,000 down at 3% interest, 4% interest. And because that's how we pitch our program and the way we do it, we're able to acquire these properties like that, because there's no negotiating. Like, this is what our program offers. This is where we are, but we're taking that headache off of you. And it's just the way we pitch it. We make it sound like how they're going to be winning in the long run. And we show them those numbers, and they're like, yeah, we never say owner finance. We say rent to own VIP. And I mean, if I tell you a rent to own VIP program, they're like, that sounds nice. But but yes, and that's how, of course, at the end they know what's happening, but it's just the pitching. You sell emotions, and that's what it is. How we're able to pitch these programs.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're speaking to the emotional need versus the technical. Technical doesn't sell.
Right, right.
Love it. Love it. This is how you compete. This is how you compete in competitive markets and changing markets. You get creative. If you don't get creative, you end up getting lost in the noise or just run over by whatever obstacle is interfering with the market. So I love that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can't let nothing get in the way. Like, I'm the type, if I really want something, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. Like, I'm not gonna let nothing get in my way. And if it does, it's just another obstacle. I go right through it, and then I get there.
I believe you. All right. So, kind of wrapping up, I asked these 4 questions the same 4 questions to everyone. First question is, if you could give advice to your 20-year-old self. I know you don't look. Yeah, I don't know how old you are. You don't look very young.
21.
20. There you go. So, 1 year ago, what would that advice be?
Trust the process. Learn to fail fast. A lot of people see as failure as a bad thing, but that's teaching you how to do it faster, quicker, right? People are scared to take any action because they're like, oh, I'm not gonna fail. Like, the faster you fail, the faster you're gonna get to the destination that you need to get to. So don't be afraid of failing. That's actually pushing you. That's where the growth comes in. That's where you're really gonna know what you're really made of. So don't be afraid of that.
What book or books have greatly influenced your life?
I like Think and Grow Rich. Of course, the Bible. That was one. And Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad and Poor Dad, and Atomic Habits.
In the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
Let go and let God.
I like that. Let go.
Let go and let God. Yeah, because sometimes we want to work our own plan, and He has a better plan for us, but we're too busy trying to do our own.
I like it. How can people reach out to you?
Through social media. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, my cell phone, anywhere.
All right. Is there questions in the audience? We're going to have some questions.
Andrea, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so excited for you and what God is doing in your life. My question is what greatest impact you think that you have made since you started your real estate career in the community, in your community, and in the real estate uh, field?
Well, I feel that I'm a person that's been through so much where anyone would give up. A lot of women use an excuse like, "Hey, I have kids, I have that." Like, I've had anything that could possibly break me with kids and being married and being family. And I'm just an impact of if I can do it, y'all can do it. I'm pretty much I do get a lot of women that are like, man, I don't know how you do it in this industry. Yes, it is hard, but like I said, if I can do it, you can do it. You just need to want to do it.
Quick question. What type do you offer any mentorship?
I do. I do.
Okay. And so can you
It's
share a little bit
Yeah,
about
yeah.
this?
So basically, we're Operation X mentorship. I focus on the four departments. I'm all about marketing and sales. Always market. So we help you pretty much set up all your like an operation, kind of like it was for me whenever I started, but obviously with the 2025 standard, right? Not from 2018. So we help you set up your four departments, which is the marketing, the sales department, transaction, and the dispo.
After all of your failures and everything and the frustration, what was the aha moment when you said, that's it? Like, what was the key that led you right on track?
So the key for that was I had to believe in myself. Like I had, because when we're gonna do something, we have a lot of doubts, right? And one thing I learned is either you're gonna feed the good ones or the bad ones. So my aha moments was we have a choice to either feed the good ones or the bad ones. I said, let me feed my good ones because I rather focus on the positive than focus on all like anything that's going on or any obstacles. So that was really like my aha moment that I learn that I have an option. I have a decision to I could either dwell on this or dwell on the good. So I just kept my eyes on the good.
Another thing I heard today, kind of parallels with that is when you're faced with a decision, especially like a big decision with a big move, one dream has to die. It's the nightmare dream that's focused on the failure and all the bad stuff that could happen, or the life that you really want. Like only one of those dreams can really live. And the good thing is you get to choose that. Just don't let it be 20 years going by wrestling with that dream, living the bad dream when you could be chasing the good dream.